Today is November the 14th, 2019, which marks the first birthday for Fallout 76, which has been one of the most controversial and highly discussed video games in many years. The online multiplayer only Fallout spin-off was always going to be a hard sell to fans of a beloved single player only franchise. But with a rocky launch, countless struggles with technical issues, questionable gameplay decisions, and many out-of-game controversies, Fallout 76 has been experimental at best and damaging at worst, with many players instead choosing to skip this entry in the franchise. Perhaps for good. However, I am a player who really enjoys the game. I love the community that has formed around it, and playing Fallout with my friends is easily the best part of the game. Not to mention, I am always inclined to support a game that is ambitious and attempts to innovate, rather than pumping out the same, similar, and safe content. Even if it ultimately doesn't pan out as planned, I would always rather support a title that dares to try new stuff. Now, there are many people on the internet, in particular on YouTube, who have made content about everything that is wrong with the game. But this isn't one of those video essays. This is a video essay made by someone who has played the game almost every day for a year about features that I think should be added to the game that will make current players happier and maybe even bring in some new ones. I am extremely familiar with the mechanics of Fallout. I have taken part in every event and followed all the news of Fallout 76. And I am someone who loves that this game is trying something very ambitious, trying to create a new hybrid genre of single player and MMO, whilst dramatically improving the game's engine with online multiplayer features, vast draw distances, complex weather and lighting systems, and I genuinely want to see it perform better and be enjoyed by more players. So here's what I think Fallout 76 could benefit from as a long-time player. Dailies and daily logins. Dailies are pretty common tasks in online games, where every day there is a repeatable task that the player can perform that gives a reward, as well as encouraging daily logins. However, the current daily tasks take a long time to complete, are too far apart from each other, and often only offer a crafting reward based on RNG. Dailies should always be fast and easy. No one wants to go too far out of their way to complete dailies, and no one enjoys RNG rewards. Let's make these daily tasks simple and in one area, such as in a town or a camp area, as opposed to dailies given out by the Possum Scouts, which require us to traverse huge parts of the map for a small chance of unlocking a camp item. I propose we give a large amount of easy, quick to complete tasks that are always giving the player rewards of XP and caps that can be completed without going to the efforts of seeking them out like we have now. Further on from this point, many games, including other Bethesda titles like Quake Champions and ESO, have daily login rewards. So if you simply log in every day, you get a reward, with each reward getting considerably better each day you log in to play in a row. Having such a system in Fallout 76 would make more players log in and play more, as well as notice some new additions to the game because of it. Do your writs. Fallout 76 has always had an element of finding your own fun, and one of the things that Fallout emphasizes as a main gameplay mechanic is crafting. Whether if it's as simple as cooking a steak to satisfy your hunger, or crafting powerful ultrasight ammo using rare nuclear flux that you had to drop a nuke in order to require, crafting has always been something that players are doing. However, in most cases, players only craft what items they need to consume. But what if crafting itself could be a quest? In the Elder Scrolls Online, there are daily challenges called writs, which are small crafting goals that the player can do every day for an amount of gold and XP. These tasks require you to create items for all crafting trades, such as smithing, woodworking, jewelry making, etc. These tasks are very quick and easy to complete, and can be done in one area using various workbenches. These writs give the player the chance to level up their characters and earn currency in game. Also, since they are so quick and easy to complete, players will happily do them every day on several characters as they log in. It's easy gold and XP after all. This will give the players the opportunity to craft new items that they wouldn't normally have crafted, and enter areas of the map the player wouldn't normally go to gather the resources for these tasks, whilst giving the player currency and XP in the process, turning what is normally an essential gameplay mechanic into a quest that helps the player understand the mechanics of crafting and rewards them with gold and XP in a short and sweet task. Pets. The Fallout franchise has always given the players the ability to recruit companions to join you on your quests. From the forever supporting Dogmeat to the crazed suicidal maniac known as Ian, companions of all backgrounds and personalities have joined us in the Wastelands. Now I know, in Fallout 76, real humans can be your companions. However, animals are a neglected option from our choice of companions. Let's get some of our animal friends in the game as pets that can accompany us on our adventures. Fallout has always had incredible animals, and having the ability to recruit a dog, a deathclaw, or even a bloatfly to follow the player around gives the players a way to show off their character's personality, as well as giving the player tasks of hunting down and taming the pet they want. Maybe you're a scavenger character with a trusty German Shepherd to help search for food. Or maybe you're a raider with a trained Wendigo on a leash at your side. All options are open. These don't even necessarily need to have function, but can instead be cosmetic add-ons. But that being said, some searching and attacking functionality wouldn't go amiss. But there are even perks already in the game that allow the pacification and taming of various beasts to be brought back to your camp. So I think this would be a fantastic addition to the game, even if it's just because I want to have a pair of trained deathclaws called Mork and Mindy. Legendary Enchantment. One of the main goals of Fallout 76 is getting the legendary equipment needed to make your character as effective as possible. PvP players will always want their Assassin Sentinel armor pieces, melee builds want their bloodied swing speed Deathclaw gauntlets, and heavy gunners want the furious explosive minigun. However, acquiring these legendary items is purely down to random chance, and this turns some players off from trying to be the best they possibly can be. Also, in many cases, the perfect weapon or perfect armor is often the most rare. So I propose we bring back the legendary enchanting mechanics that we had from Skyrim into 76, where destroying a legendary item would give you the knowledge of how that legendary effect works and gives the players the ability to add that legendary effect to a blank weapon or armor piece. This means players can eventually get the legendary items they desire, and can experiment with different legendary types and remove the randomness of the legendary drop system that frustrates so many players. It's frustrating to get the perfect legendary effects on an unwanted or too lower level weapon, or getting a great weapon with one of the 3 legendary effects being unwanted. Now, there are ways to balance this, of course. Maybe in order to apply the legendary effect to a blank piece of equipment, the player needs to scrap many of the same legendary effects for a single-use version of it. Let's for argument's sake say you wanted to add a bloodied effect to a specific weapon. Maybe you will need to scrap 10 other bloodied weapons to apply the bloodied effect to a blank weapon once, meaning there is still a grind to build your ideal equipment, but that creates a goal and gives the players the power to play how they want. Even more so, we can then sell the single-use legendary modules in our camp vendors to help make a very valuable new commodity. It's not about scavenging to find your ideal character. It's about building your ideal character. Seasons. One of the best things about the world of Fallout 76 is the huge draw distance and dynamic weather systems. You can see from one side of the map to the other, and if you see a rain cloud in the distance, it legitimately is raining over there. Genuinely very cool and helps make the world feel very believable. However, the season is in a permanent state of fall. Whilst it's a tough challenge, I think a seasonal cycling of spring, summer, fall and winter would be a delightful addition to help keep the world varied and interesting. We already have seasonal events, so why not a seasonal world? It would be lovely and ambitious. kill animations, and bullet physics. Fallout 76 has a lot of combat, and I mean a lot. Whether if you enjoy shooting, slashing, smashing, zapping, crushing, burning, or detonating your enemies, you'll be doing it a lot. However, the combat in 76, whilst much better in 76 than it was in, say, Fallout 3 or New Vegas, still could be a little more immersive, with some more realistic bullet physics and some scripted kill moves for melee attacks. One of the most fun things about Skyrim and Fallout 4 was watching your character perform or even receive kill animations, such as bashing your opponent down with the butt of your rifle, or decapitating your enemy with your mighty blade. This would help make melee combat more exciting, and even make you have some great fun with other players. Maybe you'll receive an embarrassing defeat in PvP combat, as another player tears at you and quarters you with a ripper blade. Along the same lines, shooting could be dramatically improved by adding more realistic bullet physics to guns, to make your weapon choice not just be about, how much ammo do I have for that weapon, or does this weapon have a higher damage output than the other one? You may say pick a laser rifle over a ballistic rifle because a laser rifle will have no bullet drop, since it's just hot light. Maybe you'll spend a long time on a single sniper shot, working out exactly how much you need to aim up to allow the round to drop onto your target at long range. Maybe even some simple bullet penetration through certain materials, or allow ricochets to cause certain amounts of damage, will make combat more exciting. Anything that makes shooting more of a skill is always going to be a more interesting combat experience, and will make weapon choice a much more important decision. Leveled servers. A nice thing about Fallout 76 is the different regions of the map spawn enemies of different levels, the forest having the lowest leveled enemies and the cranberry bog having the highest leveled enemies. But once you hit a certain high level, the lower level area enemies are so weak compared to you that there is often very little that ever poses a threat to you as the player, making what is supposed to be a dangerous post-apocalyptic wasteland feel more like a playground paradise, where nothing can harm you. I propose we should add leveled servers into the mix as well, so once you hit a certain high level, maybe level 100 for example, the forest maybe can start to spawn enemies that are level 35 minimum, rather than 5, and the cranberry bog can spawn enemies that are level 150 plus. This will result in players always being challenged and enemies never being too weak to not pose a threat to the player. Higher level enemies can also drop higher tier loot and higher XP rewards, so high level players can still progress at a decent pace, rather than every single level being a grind. We can make it so that you can still invite your lower level friends to join you and get power leveled if they want to, but they will obviously struggle if they are not ready to be in such a high level area, but leave it up to the players. Selling stacks of items. Player vending, I think, is one of the greatest additions to Fallout 76. It gives us a way to buy the items we need rather than grind for them, it gives players a way to roleplay as merchants, or even allows us to simply earn some caps on the side when questing. But best of all, it allows us to see other players' camps and admire what they have created. But there is one major problem when it comes to buying lots of items such as ammo or junk. In the game currently, you can only buy items individually, meaning they have to be sold at 1 cap per unit minimum. But frankly, some items are not worth 1 cap per item, primarily ammo. If I want to buy ammo, I must be buying it at 1 cap per shot minimum, but in most cases, that cost is too much. But if we could sell stacks of items, such as ammo, for any quantity, for any price, we could get a much fairer deal on the items we want to buy, and the seller is more likely to sell more. After all, right now, 1038 caliber rounds cost the same as 1556 rounds if you want to sell them at the best price, and that is clearly not a good system. So selling stacks of ammo, bandoliers of ammo, slabs of ammo, whatever you want to call them, is a much better system. After all, we can sell our bulk junk so why can't we bulk our ammo? More high legendary and end boss nuke zones. One of the coolest and most unique gameplay mechanics inside Fallout 76 is that launching a nuclear weapon onto the map will create a deadly nuclear firestorm, full of rare nuclear flux for crafting, a high volume of legendary enemies, and in the case of the Prime Fisher site, a giant boss battle in the form of the Scorchbeast Queen. However, as many veteran players will know, there are only two places that are really worth nuking on the map. And that is the Scorchbeast Queen, in order to get some special drops including improved repair kits, mutation serums, ultrasight plants, and frankly, just an enormous battle with the most varieties of enemies in the game. Or by nuking the White Springs and gaining a very large volume of legendary enemies to grind for legendary equipment drops. But that's it. It doesn't get much better than those two locations. Every other location is simply a small amount of flux and a handful of legendary enemies. People have devoted hours and hours to finding locations that are worth nuking. However, nothing even comes remotely close to the Prime Fisher site or to the White Springs. Let's get some more variety in the game and make it so that every region in Appalachia has a location that spawns a mega boss and a high volume of legendaries. Maybe nuking a region in the Mire spawns a mega Mirelurk Queen. Maybe dropping a nuke in the Ash Heap brings a giant mole rat the size of a building that's been laying dormant for years. Or maybe nuking Grafton Town Centre will spawn a terrifying Grafton monster Colossus in the Toxic Valley. It's just such a shame to see such a cool concept being so underutilized and only two locations are worth nuking. And the fact that players always go to take part in hard boss battles, such as Encrypted or Scorched Earth, proves that players love tough battles in large groups. So come on, let's make nuke zones more exciting. Better weapon and armor mod learning. When I first booted up Fallout 76, I was very confused by a new weapon system for learning weapon mods. Unlike the much admired mod learning system in Fallout 4, which tied weapon mods to perks, Fallout 76 tasked us with scrapping weapons to learn mods for that particular weapon type, even if that weapon doesn't contain the mod we just learned. For example, if I scrap a hunting rifle with no mods on it, there is a random chance I could learn how to make a mod for a hunting rifle, like a scope for example. But this doesn't make much sense to me at all. How does scrapping a hunting rifle teach me how to make a scope? Two very different inventions, with no mechanical similarities. This system also means if you find a rare weapon or piece of armour, a player may not want to scrap it in order to learn a mod, because it's rare, meaning the player may never learn the mods for that piece of kit, or worse, deliberately use worse equipment because they know more mods for it, but it is a more common piece of equipment. This needs to change in some way. Let's for example make it so that you can keep weapon mods from modded weapons like we could in Fallout 4. That way, if we have a hunting rifle with a great scope, we can simply take the scope off of it and place the scope onto any other hunting rifle we have. Or even give us the ability to scrap the mod itself in order to learn how to craft it. That to me makes much more sense. Dynamic camps and farms. The camp system is a great addition to Fallout 76. Giving players a smaller but portable home is a very nice change from the settlement system inside Fallout 4, and the new menu system is much quicker and easier to use than the Fallout 4 settlement mode. However, camps do lack something that could make them far more interesting to manage and create. Things like generator fuel consumption, irrigation for crops, and animal husbandry. Not only does maintaining your camp's fuel give you an extra believable task to complete, but it can also add a variety of new items and style of camps. For example, maybe a gasoline-powered generator doesn't last long, is loud, and requires you to scavenge fuel from gas stations and vintage cars. But a fusion-powered camp lasts a long time, is silent, and can be powered by using fusion cores or by harvesting fuel from more modern fusion cars. Whilst we're on the topic of generators, let's go crazy. Maybe we can have green energy camp builds powered by wind generators like we already have in the game, but they obviously require no fuel. Or maybe a water mill could be placed in rivers to power our camps. How about a steam engine? Let's get a generator that requires wood or coal that must be placed in water in order to power our camps. Also, along with all these extra requirements, maybe players will actually go to effort to repair the power stations at Poseidon, Monongah and Thunder Mountain in order to utilise that power rather than scavenging for the resources for their own camps. Now, before you get all defensive about player fuel could be something that is a multiplier to your normal power, making this a fun and useful option for your camps rather than a required one. Furthermore, let's make it so plant life and crops need access to water via an irrigation system in order to grow effectively. We can add sprinkler systems, irrigation piping, water pumps, rain catchers and water tanks. Imagine players creating new and interesting super farms that require very little piping for the most effective crop to min-max their camp budget. Also, in that same idea, let's get animal husbandry in the game, where we can collect and care for livestock, which will in turn give us resources like hide, meat, bone, eggs, leather, fertilizer, the list goes on. These animals can be collected and bred to help keep you, the human, alive and wealthy. Humans only became the dominant species on the planet by building farms and raising livestock. Technology as simple as a horse-pulled plough to make land suitable for farming, or wind-powered mills to make bread, or complex technology like timed water sprinklers are the only reasons humans were able to get as far as we did. So maybe, if humanity has hit rock bottom, maybe we need to rebuild Appalachia from the ground up. Ultra texture packs and updates. One issue that has always been present inside Fallout 76 is that many of the game assets are lifted straight from Fallout 4, and they haven't tried to upgrade their graphical quality inside Fallout 76. Despite what many people say, the game engine is definitely capable of ultra-realistic graphics. Just look at the mods that were released for Fallout 4 or even Skyrim that prove the engine is indeed capable of ultra-realistic graphics. But of course, the issue is, since Fallout 76 was such an enormous risk and an experiment, it doesn't make sense to send the manpower and the time to upgrade the textures when the thing might not have even been possible to get online at all. Otherwise, you may end up losing far more money than needed, much like EA did when they made Anthem. So what we could really do with is some TLC done on the textures to bring them up to more modern standard. Because so far, the only thing that looks truly beautiful texture-wise are the human face textures. It just seems like such a shame to have an improved weather system, improved light and engine, giant draw distance, but not have some more highly detailed and beautiful textures in the game. So maybe releasing a high quality texture pack, or even do a dramatic overhaul, would be welcomed. Crossplay. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Crossplay is perfect for an always online game like Fallout 76 and is by far the next big step in online gaming. No one likes separated communities, and no player benefits by not being able to reach their friends on other gaming systems. A while ago, Sony appeared to be the ones not wanting crossplay to succeed. However, that was some time ago, and now they seem much more open to it. So allowing such features into Fallout 76 would only help grow the game and the community. Whilst many gamers may not see it, Fallout 76 is a platform that has invented new technology for the Bethesda engine. So why stop the innovation? Let's get crossplay support in here too. Persistent servers. Persistent servers are a feature that many players have wanted since launch inside Fallout 76. And now we have the ability to set up vendors in the game, that desire has only become more evident. When you log into Fallout 76, you are essentially placed in a new world that you have never visited before, and you may never see that world again when you log off. Meaning anything you may have done when you were online is not guaranteed to still be present when you log back in, such as if you repair a power plant or claim a workshop. And this typically means players don't bother repairing the power plants, or don't bother making defences or buildings at workshops. But with persistent servers and a server browser, we could favourite and return to the world which we helped build. I personally think if you claim a workshop, it should remain yours until another player or enemies take it over. even if they do that when you are offline. Also, having persistent servers when you log offline means your camp will remain online for other players to visit, and they can buy items from your shop. But of course, as we know, players can't actually damage your camps unless you are in PvP, so your camp will still be safe even if you are offline. Whilst I can understand Bethesda may not want players to see a server list when logging into Fallout 76, I'm sure players will definitely be okay with it. Right now, the game essentially only has a quick join button. In the same way players were insistent a push to talk feature was added to the game, I think we need to insist on persistent worlds and server browsers, so we can build and live in a world, not just visit one. Community Market and Market Search. Camp vending was one of the best new additions added to Fallout 76. Giving players the locations of other player camps and being able to make a safe and thriving market was a brilliant way to enhance the community feel inside Fallout 76. However, it still very much relies on you searching dozens of camps to find the items you want to buy. But what if there was a market where you could sell your items to any player at any time in any world with a single community-based market vendor somewhere in the world? Maybe at the White Springs, since that already has a full set of NPC vendors. In this community store, you could set your price for the item you want to sell as you do in your own camp, but the actual market could include features to help you find items you want to purchase, such as a search bar to type in the exact item you want, with various filters such as price range, number of stars on a legendary item, the natural level of the item itself, etc. Even if you have to pay a higher cap percentage to the vendor for selling an item. If it means you are going to sell your high value items quicker and players will be able to buy your items quicker, players will love it. After all, some players don't want to have people coming to their camps on the market and want to have little interaction with other players, so even those players can sell items as well using this new special community market feature. Secondary and interior camps. One thing I have always enjoyed about Fallout 76 is the camp building. It's a great way to bring your own personality into the world and has spawned a brilliant community of people on the internet who love to show off their beautiful camp builds. Maybe I'm a little biased there, but hey, I like it. Your camp can be a gorgeous home to show off your building skills, a highly productive super farm, or even a high value trader. But the camp budget is too small in radius and object count to do all of these things at once to their fullest potential. I think a secondary camp would be a brilliant addition to the game, or even an interior apartment, which we can decorate in a similar fashion to home plate in Fallout 4, but less restrictive please, so we can have a place to call our own and not be intruded upon by players who aren't invited. Maybe there can be one of these apartments in each of the new faction's towns coming in Wastelanders, or be given to us as a reward for faction loyalty, but more on that in just a moment. Faction alliances and guilds. Faction alliances and guilds has always been a core part of Fallout's gameplay, and Fallout 76 has a huge amount of factions in the world. However, as of right now, they are just remnants of their former self, and can only act as a story mechanic currently. Whilst faction alliances, karma, and guilds are scheduled to be coming to Fallout 76 in Wastelanders released in early 2020, there are currently very few details released on that. So here is what I would like to see in faction alliances and guilds. I personally want every faction to have a specific goal or personality to where if I complete goals of that nature or even complete full story quests for that faction, I will gain certain benefits for doing so. Maybe the Free States love scavenging and crafting, so the more I scavenge and craft, my affinity with the Free States will rise. Maybe the Brotherhood of Steel loves destroying fissure sites and taking down scorch beasts, so when I do that, my affinity with the Brotherhood of Steel goes up. As your affinity goes up, you can earn special rewards for doing so, such as the previously mentioned apartments. Maybe access to special vendors can be a thing, cosmetic rewards like faction flags for camps, or uniforms, icons, emotes, or even specific faction-based weaponry and armors. This system is sort of in the game already, in the form of a quest for the Enclave, to where you are assigned points for completing specific goals in order to gain access to the nuke silos. I don't think you should be able to lose rewards by helping other factions, but maybe if you want to use the really good services with a particular faction, then you'll need to have the highest affinity with the faction at that time. Let's, for argument's sake, say the Enclave has a really good power armor trader you want to use, but you currently have the most efficiency with the first responders, who have an amazing trader. Maybe you can do jobs for the Enclave to get more affinity with the Enclave than you do with the first responders, thus gaining the ability to use the power armor trader, but losing the great first responder trader until you have the most affinity with the first responders again. This way a player is never locked into a faction, but still has to do work if they want to change their main faction alliance and prove themselves to their new leaders. I also do love the idea of faction-based PvP, but this needs to be opt-in only. There should be an affinity reward for PvP, but we can't allow a bully mentality to arise. Maybe a specific zone or event where faction PvP is allowed, and whilst I am okay with PvP, many players are not. I also believe labelling a player with their faction for all to see may be a bad thing. Let's make it so the players decide if they want to let people know their faction alliance with their uniforms, icons, and camp design. Free to play. Whilst many people may think there is a stigma behind free to play, it's genuinely a good thing for the game. No one can deny free to play is a great way to get people to try your game. After all, with no financial commitment to the game, a lot of players who are not aware of how much the game has expanded or of how much more of a stable state the game is in will be able to come back and try it and see how the game is now. Not only that, but some people just simply won't buy Fallout 76 on principle alone. Some players simply did not want a Fallout multiplayer spin-off at all, but instead wanted a fully fledged single player Fallout 5 with new assets, technological improvements, and gameplay changes. Now this could be a full-on free-to-play release version of the game, or maybe just say the Nuclear Winter Battle Royale mode could be made free-to-play. But I personally, as an individual, am in favour of making the entire product free-to-play. Now there are two reasons I want this. One, I want players who maybe never tried it or were convinced not to try it to give it a go. But also because frankly, there is also quite a pricey microtransaction store in the game and also now a paid membership program. This triple dipping into players' wallets with a game sale, microtransactions and a membership program can be a very hard sell, especially for younger players who have less expendable income. Now I'm sure there will be viewers saying, free to play would be a slap in the face for us who paid for the game a year ago. And that kind of statement really depends on how many hours you have invested into the game and how much you paid for it. I'm sure in most cases, players would have gotten plenty of hours worth of enjoyment to justify the price that they paid. Especially when you compare the time it takes to complete most other fully priced games. But that being said, that's your call, and no one can tell you how you feel other than you after all, and I am never going to tell you that you are wrong for saying so. Whilst free to play doesn't forgive bugs and glitches, at least players won't be as annoyed if something goes wrong when the game is free to play. And also, many online only games go free to play, including other games by Bethesda, such as The Elder Scrolls Online has a free version, and Quake Champions is entirely free. And both games have been better off because of it. So in conclusion, there are a lot of features that I would love to see added to Fallout 76. Whilst things have been rough for Fallout 76, I know for a fact that Bethesda does indeed watch these online videos and do read the Reddit forums. I hope that some of these ideas can be brought into the development meetings about what to be added to Fallout 76 in its second year. Fallout 76 is truly one of the most divisive games to come out in recent times, and everyone has a valid opinion on it. But as a long-time player, these are some of the changes that I think would be great. Now it's true, we do have the highly anticipated Wastelanders season of content coming to Fallout 76 in the next few months, which was delayed. In fact, I suspect it was probably scheduled to be released today. However, I played Fallout 76 for a year, and this is what I think it needs. Thank you very much for watching this video, people. Remember to check out all the cool Patreon people in the description below who help support the channel with their financial donations. You yourself, of course, can also do the same. Also remember to become a YouTube member to get cool benefits like early access to videos, behind the scenes vlogs, and more. This is my very first video essay, so if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. I've been the final render, and you've been the audience. Until next time, farewell.